You wake before dawn. Your eyes open to complete darkness, and the air carries the smell of last night's bread, yeast, char, and ash from the ovens below. The stone floor is damp, always damp. Water seeps up from somewhere beneath this building, a constant moisture that never quite dries, never quite becomes unbearable. Just persistent, just always there. Outside your window, the city is already moving. You can hear the clatter of wooden shutters being thrown open, the shouts of merchants arranging their stalls in the forum, the endless sound of wheels on stone. Pompeii does not sleep. It pauses, and then it wakes up running. You are 23 years old. You have never lived in a quiet city. You cannot imagine what that would feel like. The smell hits you next, not just the bread, but everything at once. The fermented fish from the garum factories near the harbor mixing with fresh herbs from the market, with human waste flowing through the street channels below, with the sweat of animals and the sweat of people who have already been working for hours. This is the smell of survival. This is the smell of a city that feeds itself every single day or starves. You dress in the dark. Your fingers know the movements by repetition. Tunic, belt. The thin sandals that will be destroyed by October and need replacing. You did not choose this life. It chose you. This world does not care if you survive. It is August 24th, 79 AD. You live in Pompeii. Not the Pompeii of postcards and museum displays, but the living, breathing, relentlessly functional city of the present moment. A city of roughly 20,000 people crammed into streets so narrow that two carts can barely pass each other. A city built on commerce, on movement, on things flowing in and out through the harbor that keeps everyone alive. Your social position is clear and immovable. You are not enslaved. That distinction matters more than you might think, but you are not wealthy either. You work. Everyone in your position works. The wealthier families who live in the large homes with interior courtyards and painted gardens, they do not work the way you work. They manage. They own. They profit from the work that people like you perform. Somewhere between 30 and 40% of Pompeii's population are enslaved outright. Another 40% are where you are, free but dependent, skilled but replaceable, necessary but not valuable enough to protect when circumstances change. This is the structure of the world. It is not questioned because questioning it would require imagining an alternative, and alternatives do not exist within the framework available to you. Your father worked in the bakery. His father worked in the bakery. You will work in the bakery until your hands become too damaged or your back becomes too broken, and then someone younger will take your position. This is not cruelty. This is simply how things function. You have almost no legal protection. The magistrates of Pompeii are elected by wealthy property owners. They do not represent you. The laws they enforce protect property and power structures. If you are beaten by someone wealthier, you have no recourse. If you are cheated in a transaction, your word means less than theirs. If you are accused of a crime, your testimony is literally worth less in court. The system is rigged downward, and everyone knows it. Everyone accepts it. There is no alternative framework to apply. The bakery where you work is already roaring when you arrive. The ovens were lit before midnight. The donkey that turns the millstone arrived at dawn and has already completed 3 full rotations around the volcanic stone, grain flowing steadily into flour that will become bread that will feed the city. Your hands know this work so completely that your mind can wander while your body performs the motions. Mix the flour with water. The proportions are exact. Too much water and the dough becomes unworkable. Too little and it cracks and fails to rise. Add salt. The salt is expensive, but necessary. It preserves the bread, extends its edible life from hours to days. Knead the dough. This is where the damage accumulates. Your hands will develop permanent deformities from this motion, repeated thousands of times per week. Archaeologists studying skeletal remains from Pompeii have found evidence of chronic joint damage in the hands and wrists of bakers, deformations that began in early adulthood and worsened with every passing year. The oven temperature is critical. Too cool, and the bread fails to set. Too hot, and the exterior burns before the interior bakes through. Your supervisor knows the exact moment to pull each loaf. He has done this for 30 years. His hands are scarred from reaching into the oven. His left arm is permanently marked by old burn scars that never fully healed. This is the cost of skill in Pompeii. Your body pays it in increments. By mid-morning, you have shaped and baked over 300 loaves. Your back aches. The heat from the ovens has made your skin red and raw. Sweat runs into your eyes. The bread moves out onto the counter where customers arrive with coins and arguments about pricing. The baker argues back the way he does every single morning. The woman in front of you is haggling over a sesterce. The baker is tired the way he is every single morning. This work is not valued because it is essential. It is valued because it is necessary. There is a difference. The work happens before dawn and continues until dusk. There is no true rest. Winter brings different challenges than summer, but the work never stops. In winter, your hands crack from the cold and constant moisture. In summer, the heat is nearly unbearable. The seasons change what you suffer, but they do not change the fact of suffering. You have never eaten a meal that was not repetitive. Bread is the foundation. Always bread. This morning you chewed through nearly half a loaf while working, washing it down with watered wine that tasted like vinegar. The wine is always watered. Pure wine is expensive and wasteful. Hunger is a constant state for people in your position. Not the desperate hunger of actual starvation, but a persistent low-level ache that reminds you that you are always slightly less full than you would prefer to be. Your midday meal, if you have time for one, will be bread again, probably with a small portion of whatever vegetables are cheapest at the market. Perhaps some cheese if business is good. Fish is too expensive on a daily basis. Meat appears in your diet perhaps 3 times per year, on certain festival days when the temples perform public sacrifices and the meat is distributed to the populace. The wealthy families in their spacious homes eat meat regularly. They have access to the best pieces from the market, to imported delicacies, to variety that you cannot imagine. Your food is monotony. It is fuel. It is survival translated into consumption. One bad harvest, and everything changes. You have heard the stories from older workers who lived through the agricultural failures of previous years. Bread prices tripled. People died from malnutrition. Children stopped growing. The city had to import grain from Egypt, and prices remained elevated for months. The threat of famine is never distant. It hovers at the edge of every season, always possible, always a calculation in the back of your mind. Your body is a catalog of small failures. The water you drink comes from the same channels that carry human waste through the streets. You know this. Everyone knows this. And no one can do anything about it because this is how the city functions. Approximately 3 out of every 10 children born in Pompeii do not reach adulthood. The primary causes are diseases of contamination, dysentery, typhoid, various fevers that have no names because no one has studied them carefully enough to classify them properly. You have survived 23 years, which means you have an exceptionally strong constitution. The average life expectancy in Pompeii is approximately 35 years. You're already doing better than most. But you are not unscathed. You have suffered from the summer fluxes, violent intestinal disturbance that leaves you weak and dehydrated. You have survived 3 episodes. Other people do not. You have watched neighbors simply decline over the course of a week or 2, their bodies unable to retain water, and then they are gone. Wounds are dangerous. A simple cut that becomes infected can be fatal. Infection leads to gangrene. Gangrene requires amputation if you are wealthy enough to access a physician. If you are not wealthy, it requires death. You know people who died from infected wounds. A man who cut his hand on a broken pot at the Thermopylaeum. It seemed minor at first. 3 weeks later, he was dead, his body consumed by an infection that no one could see, but everyone could smell. Around midday, you notice something odd. The light through the bakery windows seems strange. Not darker exactly, but different. The quality of it has shifted. You think perhaps it is clouds, but when you step outside briefly, the sky is clear. The sun is bright, but something feels wrong. A woman at the well nearby is arguing with her neighbor. The well has run dry. It has never run dry before. Not within living memory. She stands there staring at the stone spout, and the neighbor tries to reassure her. Probably a problem with the aqueduct. Someone will fix it. These things happen. You return to the ovens. The work does not pause for oddities.
The city must be fed.
By early afternoon, the city should collapse.
The wells are dry.
The fountains are silent. The aqueduct is not flowing. The basic infrastructure that makes survival possible has failed. But Pompeii does not collapse. People adapt. They find alternative water sources. They make do with less. They lower their expectations and recalibrate their understanding of what is acceptable. This is human resilience, not the dramatic survival of heroic action, but the quiet survival of lowered standards and adaptation to cruelty. Around 1 p.m., something changes. The mountain that has always been on the northern horizon, the mountain that everyone has lived beneath their entire lives, suddenly is no longer a mountain. It is something else entirely. The summit is breached. The eruption column rises at over 30 meters per second. Within minutes, it reaches a height of more than 20 kilometers. At its peak, it is ejecting approximately 1.5 million tons of material per second into the atmosphere. But you do not understand what you are seeing. The concept of a volcano, as we understand it, does not exist yet. This is not an event that has a framework in anyone's mind. Some people think it might be the end of the world. Some think the gods are angry. Some think they are hallucinating. Most people think something must be done, but no one knows what. The sky is becoming dark in the middle of the afternoon. The sun is disappearing behind a wall of ash. What falls first is pumice, small porous volcanic stones raining from the sky like gray hailstones. This phase will last for hours. The pumice accumulates at roughly 15 centimeters per hour. And here is the thing that changes everything. It does not immediately kill people. This is the escape window. The people who survive Pompeii are almost entirely the people who use it. They wrap cloth around their heads. They gather what they can carry. They walk out through the city gates. Most of them never return. For those who stay, whether from attachment to property, or doubt, or the simple human tendency to underestimate danger, the hours that follow are increasingly nightmarish. The pumice rises past knee height. Roofs collapse under the weight. Ground floor doors become impossible to open. The streets become impassable. And then the darkness becomes total. Not the darkness of night, but a darkness so complete that a torch illuminates only a small circle around itself. Sometime between midnight and dawn on August 25th, the eruption column collapses. The pyroclastic surge arrives, a superheated cloud of gas, ash, and volcanic rock fragments traveling at speeds of up to 700 kilometers per hour at temperatures between 400 and 700 degrees Celsius. You cannot shelter from it. You cannot outrun it. It moves faster than sound. The thermal pulse kills instantly. And then there is silence over the Bay of Naples. The silence lasts for 1,700 years. Pompeii is sealed. Every room, every street, every object, every person exactly as they were at the moment the surge arrived. The bakery is still there. The volcanic stone millstones have not moved from where the donkey turned them on the morning of August 24th. The bread is preserved in the ovens, carbonized but intact. The stepping stones are still in the street. The gap between the hand that baked that bread and the glass case it sits behind in a museum in Naples is 2,000 years. And somehow it feels like nothing at all. They survived because they adapted to cruelty. They lived in a system designed to exploit them, in a city threatened by invisible dangers, in a world where most days you were hungry and most nights you were cold. And they kept going. They kept working. They kept buying fast food on the way to work, kept expecting to go to bed that night. They did not feel like ancient history. They felt exactly like you. And that is precisely what Pompeii was preserved to show us.